I had no idea it would be my last time seeing the sun for a week. The plan was simple. Drive up to our family cabin in the Rockies, spend the weekend off-grid, and return before the Monday grind. I'd done it dozens of times, but that day, December 9th, the weather apps missed something. They didn't warn about what was coming. I was alone. My girlfriend, Carrie, had a work emergency. My friends bailed out last minute. I was stubborn. I needed this break. A little snow's no big deal, I told myself as I packed up the Jeep with supplies, snow chains, a satellite phone, which I ironically forgot to charge, and my backpacking gear. The drive started smoothly. Colorado's highland air was crisp, the skies clear. I blasted a winter playlist and sipped hot gas station coffee. But halfway up the mountain road, the clouds changed, fast. They thickened like ink pouring through water. I should have turned around. Instead, I drove deeper. By the time I realized how heavy the snowfall was, I was already past the last ranger station. The signs were gone. The tire tracks faded. Snowflakes slammed my windshield. Like confetti in a blender. Visibility, maybe 15 feet. I slowed to 10 morph, then 5. Then, nothing. The Jeep jerked and skidded sideways. I slammed on the brakes. Big mistake. The tires spun, and the whole vehicle slid off the edge of the narrow road, down a gentle embankment, and lodged into a ditch hidden under the snow. I hit my head, hard. The world went dark for a second. Then I opened my eyes to silence. A silence so complete, it made my ears ring. When I stepped outside, the cold hit me like a punch. I was dressed for winter, but not this kind. The wind howled, snowflakes slicing sideways like needles. I tried to assess the Jeep's damage. The wheels were buried, the axle jammed. I wasn't getting it out alone. I reached for my phone. 1 bar, then none. The screen went blank. Dead battery. I laughed. It wasn't funny, but what else could I do? I checked the time. 4:37 p.m. It gets dark at 5. I had 2 choices. Hike back 5 miles to the ranger station in a storm. Stay in the Jeep and wait it out. I chose wrong. I chose to hike. At first, I was confident. The trail was faint, but my boots were strong, and I had a flashlight. But 20 minutes in, the snow deepened. My legs sank mid-calf, then to the knees. The wind howled louder and my flashlight dimmed. Then it happened. I stepped wrong, my left. Foot plunged into a hole, an old animal burrow maybe, and twisted hard. Pain shot up my leg like fire. I fell face first into the snow. I screamed into the wind, but it stole my voice. I lay there for too long. It would have been easy to close my eyes, to sleep. They say hypothermia makes you feel warm. I started to believe that, but then I thought of Carrie, of my dog Max, of my little sister's wedding next month. I wasn't going to die here. Not like this. I crawled back to the Jeep. It took an hour. When I got inside, my fingers were blue. I wrapped them in my beanie, then ripped open the emergency thermal blanket and curled up in the back seat. My ankle was throbbing. My stomach was already growling, and the storm outside, it had just begun. I didn't sleep that night. The cold kept biting through the blankets. I watched my breath frost up the windows. I counted seconds, then minutes, then hours. Day 1, survived. But I knew. This was far from over. Morning didn't look any different from night. Everything outside was white. A howling, shifting, merciless white. My watch said 7:12 a.m., but the sky was the same bleak grey. I checked my supplies. 1 thermos of lukewarm coffee, half a protein bar, 2 granola packs, a bag of jerky, and a few water bottles. I had packed light, too light. The Jeep's heater wouldn't turn on. Battery was near dead. I turned the key. Click, click. Nothing. The cold wrapped around me like a slow snake. My ankle was swollen and stiff. I couldn't stand properly, so I tore up one of my shirts and tied it around my foot to reduce the pressure. I needed a plan. No signal, no vehicle, no rescue in sight. Panic whispered, "No one knows you're here. No one's coming." But I fought it off. I tried starting a fire using a camping lighter and some paper napkins in the glove compartment. The flame flickered for a second, inside a tin bowl before being swallowed by the cold. It was too damp, the air too thin, the snow too strong. I remembered an old trick, insulating the Jeep from inside. I stuffed my spare clothes into the cracks of the doors and windows, then covered myself in every piece of clothing I had. I stayed wrapped up, not moving much, conserving energy, but still, hunger clawed at my stomach. Dehydration crept in faster than I expected. The dry mountain air sucked the moisture from my body without me sweating a drop. By afternoon, the wind screamed like a beast outside. The Jeep rocked gently in the gusts. I swore I heard howls. Animal or wind, I didn't know. And then I saw it, a shape, a figure, far in the distance, through the snowstorm. I wiped the glass and peered harder. It was tall, lurching, moving sideways. For one frozen second, I thought it was a man, maybe a hiker, a ranger, someone alive. But then it moved wrong, like it had joints in the wrong places, and vanished behind a drift. I stared for a long time. I wasn't sure if I saw it or imagined it. That night, I dreamt of fire, warm crackling flames, a cabin full of food, Carrie's laughter echoing through the walls. I opened a door in the dream and fell through ice. The cold jerked me awake. My ankle pulsed. My lips were cracking. I had wet myself slightly. The shame was overwhelming. I was starting to lose control. Day 2 ended in silence, except for the pounding wind. Day 3 came with a gift and a threat. The storm eased slightly. For a brief moment, the sun peeked through, casting light on the snow-blasted road. I crawled out of the Jeep. My legs felt weak, but the cold gave me adrenaline. Then, I saw it. Snowmobile tracks. Faint, maybe a day or two old. Someone had passed near here. I had flares in the back seat. I hobbled to get one, lit it, and waved it like a madman, even though no one was around. The smoke spiraled red and angry into the air. Still, no answer, just more cold. That night, I rationed half a protein bar and a mouthful of water. I sucked on an ice shard for hydration. My fingers were getting numb. Frostbite was creeping in. Then, around 3:17 a.m., I heard a noise. Thump, drag, thump. Not the wind. It was outside. I held my breath, reached for my camping knife. The sound circled the Jeep. Something was out there. Not a bear, too light. Not a man, too slow. I didn't dare look. It stopped at the driver's window. And then, tap, tap, tap. 3 knocks. Deliberate, rhythmic. I finally looked. Nothing was there. The cold can mess with your mind. That's what I told myself. Hallucinations, sleep deprivation, isolation, but my breath fogged on the glass. And in that fog, I saw a handprint that wasn't mine. Day 3 ended with me clutching my knife and whispering to myself, "You're not alone, you're not alone, you're not alone." I didn't sleep again. I couldn't. I kept staring at the handprint until the glass fog cleared. I kept listening for the sound, that tap, 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 but it didn't return. The storm had gone eerily quiet. That kind of silence that makes you feel like something is watching. Day 4 began with a realization. I was breaking. My thoughts were slower. My body shook in waves I couldn't control. I needed warmth, food, and water. My tongue felt thick, my skin raw. I crawled out of the Jeep around noon when the sky lightened. The sun was barely there, hiding behind grey sheets of cloud. Still, the visibility was better than it had been in days. I knew I had one shot. The snowmobile tracks I'd seen yesterday. If I followed them, I might reach something. A cabin, a ranger post, someone. I packed a small bag, 1 bottle of water, a piece of jerky, my knife, a flare, and a note, just in case. If you find this, my name is Lucas Monroe. I left the vehicle to find help. Please call Carrie Allen at... I scribbled her number with shaking hands. I tucked it in the dashboard, next to a half-frozen photo of me and Carrie last fall. Then I stepped into the snow. Every step was agony. My ankle throbbed, my lungs burned with the icy air. The snow was up to my knees in some places, but I followed the faint grooves from the snowmobile, winding up through the trees, hoping they led to civilization. Half an hour passed, then an hour. Then I saw it, a small structure, wooden, a ranger's warming hut, maybe 10 in size. I almost cried. I limped toward it and pushed the door open. It wasn't locked. Inside was dusty, old, but dry. No food, a rusted stove, a few logs, a box of matches, and, thank God, a sleeping bag. It felt like a palace. I sparked the matches, lit the logs, and curled into the bag. For the first time in 4 days, I felt something close to warmth. I dozed off, maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for hours. When I woke, it was pitch black again, but it wasn't silent. There were footsteps outside. Crunch, crunch, slow, deliberate. I froze in the bag, my heart hammering. Then, a knock, not on the door, on the window. 3 taps, rhythmic, just like before. I couldn't move. Then came the whisper, Lucas, my name, my actual name. I shot up and grabbed the flare. I cracked it open, flooding the room in red light. I darted to the door, yanked it open, and found nothing. Just trees, snow, silence. I stumbled outside, swinging the flare, screaming, "Hello, who's there?" Nothing. I stood there, flare in hand, snow at my knees, heart racing. Then on the snowbank behind the hut, I saw footprints, bare, human, leading into the woods. I didn't follow. Back inside, I shut and bolted the door, even though I knew it wouldn't matter if that thing wanted in. I stared at the snow outside the window until morning light came. Day 5, still alive. By midday, I decided I couldn't stay in the hut. The warmth was a trap. I had a limited number of matches, no food, and whatever was out there, it knew where I was. I went back out. This time, I followed a small trail behind the hut, likely a path used by rangers. I guessed it led back to a main road or base. My body was on autopilot. I slipped more than I walked. At one point, I collapsed in the snow and thought of giving up, letting it end, just letting the cold take me. But then I heard music. Faint, piano melody. Carrie used to play it. Debussy, Claire de Lune. How could that be? I looked around wildly, and then I saw her, a woman, standing in the woods, wearing a white coat, hair fluttering, eyes blank, staring at me. I blinked, and she was gone. I ran. I didn't care where, just forward. Finally, after what felt like forever, I saw it, a wooden sign, half buried in snow. Beaver Creek Ranger Station, 1.3 miles. I collapsed again, this time laughing, crying, both. I had hope again. I dragged myself forward. 1 step, 1 breath, One prayer at a time, the trees began to thin. The world started to open. I was going to make it, but the forest didn't want me to. I heard the whisper again. Lucas, don't leave us. The trees seemed to lean in, and from the corner of my eye, I saw the woman again. Only this time, she was smiling. A sharp, cold, hungry smile. I don't remember falling, just the sharp impact as my face hit snow. I must have blacked out for minutes, maybe hours. When I woke, it was night again. The forest was dark, the path gone. My flare had burned out. My limbs barely responded, but I was alive. I crawled to a tree and leaned against it, shaking uncontrollably. In the distance, dim orange lights, cabins, or more tricks of the storm. I had no choice. I dragged myself forward. Every crunch of snow beneath me echoed like thunder. Every gust of wind whispered my name, Lucas. My vision blurred. I saw her again, closer this time. The woman in the white coat. She stood in the path, looking almost kind. But her eyes weren't human. They were hollow, deep, like tunnels. She raised her hand, beckoning. I stopped. No, I muttered. You're not real. But her voice was soft now. You left us in the snow. You left them to die. I staggered back. Memories rushed in. I did leave someone in a snowstorm once, 4 years ago. A hiking trip with friends. A storm came early. I was the only one who made it back. I told the search teams we got separated. But that wasn't the whole truth. I could have gone back. I could have tried harder. I didn't. I saved myself. The guilt hit like ice. Was that why I was here now? Was this punishment? Was she real? Or just my sins, shaped by cold and hunger? I didn't know anymore. I reached the lights. It was a real building, a ranger outpost, lit by generators, snowmobiles parked outside, a radio antenna, smoke from a chimney. I screamed, "Help!" No answer. I banged on the door until my hands bled. Finally, it opened. A man in a ranger's uniform stared at me in shock. Jesus, how are you alive? He dragged me in, wrapped me in blankets, poured hot coffee down my throat. They called emergency services. They gave me food, heat, human voices. Later, in a hospital bed, they told me I had severe frostbite on 3 fingers and my right foot, mild hypothermia, a broken ankle. But you're lucky, the doctor said. People don't usually make it 7 days in that terrain. The news picked up the story. Man survives 7 days. Trapped in snowstorm. They called me brave. They called it a miracle, but I knew better. The storm let me go. It didn't have to. Weeks passed. I healed, mostly, but I can't sleep anymore. Because sometimes, late at night, I hear the wind outside my window, and mixed in with it, a soft knock, tap, 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 and a whisper. We remember Lucas.